Oh, I got you to start watching Baby Reindeer.
Yeah. I watched most of Baby Reindeer. I had to take a little breaky break because I was scarred. That's an intense show.
And I also am happy to say that next week we're going to be having a bonus episode with Mikhail Bailey.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we should give a little sneak peek.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Costume Podcast. I'm Elizabeth Joy Glass.
And I'm Elizabeth's very tan co-host, Spencer Williams.
Hello, Spencer. I like that San Diego glow.
Thank you. We were talking behind the scenes. I was like, wait a minute. Did I tan a little bit?
You did.
I just got back from San Diego. Well, not just. It's been like a week and a half now.
It feels like just.
Yeah, it feels just like the other day. But also the past 2-3 weeks, just being alive has just felt like
too much.
Yeah, too much. Comic-Con was so much fun, Elizabeth. I wish you could have been there. We had a great time.
Oh, same. I wish I could have been there too. I need to get out there one day for it.
Yeah, it totally was a lot of fun. And thank you to everyone who came out to the panel. 2 panels. I moderated 2 panels.
Yeah.
And a few of our podcast listeners showed up to the Hunger Games panel we did. Came up, saw hi, took a few pictures, and it was very, very sweet. And it was good to see all of you. And I appreciate it. I almost felt like I had to walk away to the bathroom for a minute and have like a quick like cry in the stall. Be like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then, get back to what I was doing. So it was a really great time. So I really appreciate it. And can't wait for next year.
Oh, I can't wait. I is so excited for you.
Yeah.
It's been a whirlwind for me the last couple weeks. I finished Margaritaville last night. So
oh my gosh.
It was the first time I didn't get to watch the full dress rehearsal because last night was the first time they had all the costumes.
Yeah.
But I also had to like go over to the theater is on a college campus that they use the spaces. They have their theater and then they use some of the other spaces. So I had to go over and take measurements for the cast of Ride the Cyclone, which is the show they're doing next month. But I got to see two of the numbers that have the zombies in them.
Okay.
And it was the first time I had seen my work, like my complete work.
Wow.
And I was just it made my heart so happy.
Oh my gosh, Elizabeth, that's so cool. I'm so happy for you. I wish I was there.
I was like, yes, okay, I did a good job. All right.
So tell me, since I'm the interviewer now and you're the costume designer, how did you dive into the parrot head couture of Margaritaville? I would love to know what your research process was like.
Honestly, it was literally Googling resort wear.
Okay.
Seeing what people are doing for resort wear. And then finding some of the cheapest sets that I could. The most fun I had was doing the zombie jackets.
Oh,
because I got to
I didn't know there was zombies in Margaritaville.
Yeah, they're somebody's hallucination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But yeah, there is these zombies, and they're only it's the ensemble in their beachwear with these jackets over them, and it's they're shredded and burned, and I got to use a blowtorch, and my dad was very nice. He helped me a little bit. We did some spray paint, some other dirtiness on them.
Oh,
they
Elizabeth,
look so good.
This is amazing. You have to send us pictures so we could share it with all of our...
I absolutely will. Last night was the first time they took pictures, and probably the only time they'll take pictures. Right. So it'll probably be a minute before I can get those. But yeah, if you're in the Maryland Cecil County area, go to Milburn Stone Theater.
There you go.
See Escape to Margaritaville.
I am so jealous. I hope everyone goes. I don't even know what place you just said just now, but I hope if that meant something to you, you be there or be square, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to see some of the beginnings of Elizabeth Glass's career as a costume designer in the theater realm and her zombie costumes.
My zombie costumes.
I didn't know that you're doing Margaritaville zombies. That's totally my two favorite worlds.
It was so much fun. And then I read the script for Ride the Cyclone Tuesday night for the first time. And then I talked to the director a little bit when I was taking measurements. And I discovered that the bassist for the production, I'm going to get to dress up in a rat costume.
Nice.
So I'm like, I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Oh, heck yeah. I'm so excited. Oh, Elizabeth. Well, we have a fun episode today.
Yes.
But before we even get to the fun stuff we have ahead and the reviews I'm about to read you, we have something special we have to do.
Oh, yes.
Your birthday's this weekend.
Oh, my God.
Elizabeth, happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
By the time this comes out, you would have just had your birthday, 2 days before?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've crossed over, my friend.
I'm entering into my 30, flirty, and thriving era.
I'm so excited. So what are you doing?
I'm taking a trip to New Orleans.
Okay.
Meeting my sister and a friend there. We're going to take a horse and carriage tour.
And so jealous.
A booze and booze tour.
Oh, fun.
I'm so excited. The happy hour one sold out before I could get tickets, so I was a little bit annoyed about that. But, they had the regular. As is life. But yeah, I'm really excited.
Oh, that's awesome. Happy birthday. I actually have a gift for you.
Oh?
Yeah, and I was going to mail it to you, but I was like, oh, she's not going to get it before she goes on her trip. I mean, I will mail it to you, but by the time you get it, it would be like a week or two after your birthday. So I got this for you at San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh?
It is a autographed picture of Edward and Bella from Wendy Chuck to you.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So happy birthday,
Spencer. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'll have to mail it to you as soon as I can. But yep.
I'm gonna have to make space for that on my wall.
Of course. She was so nice and was so willing to just talk about Twilight with me. And I was just telling her about how you and I were just such big fans of her work. And yeah, she was blown away by that. And she even said that she'd be willing to come on to the podcast and talk to us about Twilight. So I don't know. It's your birthday, but it also feels like it's all of our birthdays.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I'm like looking at my wall and I'm like, where can I put this?
Yeah.
No, it'll be when I get it, it'll be in frame. I'll actually start like showing my background on these Zooms.
Well, I'm keeping it safe, but it is coming to you very soon.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, enough being happy. No, just kidding. let's move on to the next part. We have some reviews that we would like to read, as we're making a habit of reading some of our reviews that we're finding on Apple Podcasts. So we have 2 today. The first one is from Dimes and Nickels, titled A Podcast for Detail Nerds. And the 5-star review says, not a costume person, but as a writer, I love the research and attention to detail that Spencer and Elizabeth put into each episode. I always learn something new while listening.
Thank you.
That's so nice. I mean, that's what we try to do. Give you something to learn while also listen to us make fools of ourselves while talking about costumes.
Thank you, Dimes and Nickels. We appreciate it.
Yeah. The next one is from C. Fonsler. The title is Love It. Never thought much about costume design until I found this podcast. Now I'm hooked. If you like film and learning about the behind the scenes, this is definitely the podcast for you. Spencer, Elizabeth, and Daniel always have awesome guests talking about movies, fresh in the theater as they release, and throwbacks to all the favorites. This podcast adds a great layer of knowledge to any film buff. Love it.
Thank you. And thank you to all the people who weren't really costume nerds listening to this and loving it as much as we do. That makes me feel like we're reaching more people than we thought we would.
Yeah. I mean, we're casting a big net here. If you even like talking about film or TV, I just feel like there's a spot in this costume nerd community for everybody, because
absolutely,
Elizabeth and I are not what's the word? Disciplined enough to just talk only about costumes.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, to Daniel's detriment, we always go off topic.
We definitely wander.
Yeah. That's fine. I guess people love us for that.
Absolutely.
So, if we're making someone happy. Well, thank you all for those reviews. As we mentioned every episode, please leave us a 5-star text review on Apple Podcasts. And we'll be happy to read those reviews on the episode. And also you can rate us on Spotify, which also really helps as well. Elizabeth, because you are traveling for your birthday, we had to kind of switch up today's episode a little bit.
Yes, we did.
We were going to talk about Funny Face, but with me being in San Diego and you now leaving to New Orleans, and it's just been...
Things been crazy.
The lights are on, but no one's home at the Art of Costume studio except Daniel. So we decided, instead of waiting a month or so to do this, we were going to talk about the Emmys and all of our Emmy nominees.
Yes, I'm so excited this year. I'm just like blown away by how good the nominees are, how many there are. Like, I don't know how I always forget there are so many like categories. And then I'm like, oh, of course there are. There are so many talented people creating so many amazing shows and limited series and movies. It's so exciting. It's such an exciting time of year.
It's like the best and worst part of the Emmys, Yeah. It's like, I love the Emmys are coming up because like so many of our friends get nominated, 25, sometimes 30. Like, that's so exciting. You get to see so many different aspects of costume design get recognized. But then also at the same time, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many people. How are you able to like
watch all winners?
Of it? Yeah, and watch all of it. You and I are both still working through all these shows, and we watch these shows for a living.
Oh yeah, and I feel like this is like one of the years where I've seen the least amount of shows nominated, just because like I've been busy working so much. I haven't had time, because a lot of these shows I like to sit down and like pay attention. It can't just be a background show while I'm doing other work. So I'm like so overwhelmed this year.
I get that, which is why I look forward to the Oscars usually too, because I'm like, oh, that's just 5 movies. We can watch those 5 movies. I can figure this out. Yeah. But then at the same time, we're like, so many people deserve that nomination. So it's a catch-22. But yeah, so today Elizabeth and I are going to walk through each of the 5 categories and talk through, a lot of these shows, all these designers. A lot of them have been on a podcast already. Talk about maybe some of our favorite facts, and who we think maybe might win, who we would like to see win. I don't know. Well, we're going to get a little crazy here. We'll see what happens. But we're going to take a little break first, though. Right, Elizabeth?
Yes, we need a little break, and then we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Dan, audio engineer of the podcast, here to let you know that if you wanted to support the show, you can head over to theartofcostume.com/podstore. There you can buy some awesome TeePublic merch with the podcast logo, such as a shirt, coffee mug, stickers, and of course, a baby onesie. Thanks for all your support.
Spencer, we are starting out with personally one of my favorite categories. One of the categories where I'm so excited for all of these shows, but unfortunately a category where I've only been able to watch one of the shows. We are starting with outstanding period costumes for a series.
Yeah, I mean, period is the one I feel like we as costume nerds always look forward to, because that's the one where you're like, there's usually a lot of like technical talent in period, you know? It's a lot of research, a lot of understanding of the history and the colors and the silhouettes. So I'm always excited for this category.
Same. I love seeing how people interpret the time period they're working in. I also think it's very funny to see the discourse online about what people did and didn't get wrong.
Yeah.
I'm always just like, let it go.
I know. That's you and I hear about that way too much.
Way too much.
So let me walk us through the nominees here. So we have Palm Royale by Alex Friedberg and Lee Bell, Shogun by Carlos Rosario, The Gilded Age by Kasia Waliska Mamona and Patrick Wiley, The New Look by Karen Mueller-Sorow, and Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty by Emma Potter. Those are our 5 nominees.
Yes. Congratulations to everybody. Because even what I didn't see, like the full series of, I saw so many clips and videos of these things. Everything is gorgeous in the category.
This is a strong category. I do find it difficult to have the Rise of the Lakers Dynasty show in the same category as like Palm Royale, and like it's just
the Gilded Age
and the Gilded Age is such like 2 different kinds of period, you know?
Yeah.
The Lakers show looks fantastic, and I'm really like in my basketball era, I'm just like dying to get into this show. But it is like, I just love how these categories are put together, because sometimes you're just like, come on, like how is this? You know?
Yeah, seeing the Shogun picture and the Winning Time picture like kind of next to each other is a little bit, I'm like, whoa, like these don't feel like they should be in the same category, but I understand why they are.
There should be like a very old period category, and then like a period category from like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
That's 2 different types of period.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it is no secret that I am a big fan of Shogun. We had Carlos Rosario on a podcast. I think he's just incredible. Alien Romulus is about to come out in a few weeks, which is another film that he did that's coming out right now. But Shogun is just such a beautiful show, and I believe it's the most nominated show this year. It's racked up.
Sounds right.
Yeah, I believe like through all the categories. So Shogun really is the one to beat.
I've gotten to see a little bit of Shogun, and it's just top to bottom, technically beautiful, visually stunning. Like, oh my gosh, like I feel like it's gonna run away with everything.
Yeah, I really do think Shogun is the one to beat in like every category. Not just costume, but the attention to detail in this show, and you know, working with these consultants on like fabrics and the way that, you know, these kimonos are folded in this direction or worn in this way. The meanings. It's just the amount of detail actually to me just feels kind of impossible, really, for this type of show, and they achieved it. So I think Shogun is such a strong nominee.
I feel like Gilded Age is right behind it, though.
Yeah, I mean, you know how we feel about the Gilded Age. I am so glad the Gilded Age was nominated.
Yes. Me too. I was like, if it didn't, that would have like been absolutely shocking. Although I will say in this category, would not be surprised to see the New Look win. Just because like I feel like whether it's the Emmys or the Oscars, I really think people like movies and TV shows about fashion designers.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
I think just because it's kind of like the evolution of like our own work and something that like inspires so many costume designers and people across like so many creative arts. I feel like those always have a really good chance of winning.
Yeah, I do too. I always, feel like there's like this built-in bias toward a fashion show or film in the costume category because it's like, oh, like that's kind of like the obvious pick. I mean, this New Look show looks incredible. I've seen lots of pictures and it is truly stunning. It deserves to be a nominee. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't be shocked if the New Look took it because people love a story about fashion too. We've seen that before in the Oscars a lot with, I felt like Cruella was a strong fashion movie.
Yeah.
Phantom Thread. I was pretty outspoken about how I thought Barbie was going to win because it was like the fashion movie in my eyes.
Yeah.
So, it happens, but we don't know for sure. The New Look looks beautiful, and Karen Mueller, Sorrell's team should be super proud of what they did,
Absolutely.
especially doing something based on Dior. I mean, talk about the pressure.
Yeah. It's like you're having to emulate a fashion icon while also putting your own spin on it and making it make sense to the eye of a modern viewer. Because, like, not everybody is going to understand. I mean, I haven't seen the show. Maybe they explain it, but just like how historical events impacted the New Look so much and, what Dior was trying to do with that. Like, there's so much to consider when it comes to the costumes for that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think that has to be my next show. I'm going to get into it.
Same.
But we didn't really get to talk about the Gilded Age too much. I mean, I just feel like this season of the Gilded Age is outstanding.
It's so outstanding.
The 2 episodes, I believe the one that Kasha submitted for her nomination was the Easter episode.
Yes.
Which, I mean, come on. Like, that Easter scene is crazy.
It's so crazy. What I think I love so much about Gilded Age is it shows how much creativity people had in the past and how, like, I feel like we simplify like what people wore, how creative they were, and like a lot of times. And I feel like she really shows like what people were doing and how creative and like willing to create their clothes to be art.
Yeah, it's stunning. And I mean, even if she didn't submit this episode, I also would have considered the opera episode to be a good one to submit also. Seeing all the opera costumes and oh my gosh, Bertha Russell walking down the stairs, like that moment will always get me.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I just thinking about the Easter episode, I can't stop thinking about what she said about like they couldn't even make the hats big enough.
Oh yeah.
That keeps like popping into my head.
Yeah, that's a good clip. Daniel, maybe you could play a little bit of that for us.
The first thing that I realized from the research was the size of the hats. And that idea of those hats, it still continues. I mean, we still see elements of those hats in pockets of the society in the States. And I think there was this amazing discovery. I also realized that in the first season, we had to train our eyes and almost like prepare ourselves for what was coming in the second season. In reality, those hats were that big. And I think it just took so much courage to go for it. And I went even bigger in the test trials. Like, we made a hat for one of the characters that was taken from the research, the size of it, and it did not fit in the frame of the doorway. So we had to chop it off. So we all looked at each other and was like, oh my God, this went too far. We need to scale back a little bit.
Another show that lots of people are talking about in this nomination.
I want to see this.
Palm Royale by Alex Friedberg and Lee Bell. It is a very colorful, fun show that I'm just dying to get into.
I really want to see that. I saw the previews for it forever ago, and I was like, oh, I should watch that. And then it kind of just like slipped my mind. And then when the nomination came out, I was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. And then I was seeing images from it, and I'm like, this looks like so much fun.
Yeah, it really looks so much fun. It's starring Kristen Wiig and, of course, none other than Carol Burnett. So,
wait, what?
You didn't know Carol Burnett's in this?
Carol Burnett is in that show?
Carol Burnett is in this and in full costume, looking fabulous. So
you go, girl.
I know. I can't believe I haven't seen a show. It's an Apple show, I believe, though. So I'm just like really bad with Apple shows.
Oh.
Carol Burnett's in it. It's very colorful. I believe it's set in either Florida or Palm Springs. I want to say Florida. Yeah, Palm Royale is set in Palm Beach, Florida. So I just feel like maybe you might have got your Margaritaville inspiration from Palm Royale also. So, maybe something to go back and watch too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that'd probably be fun to watch now.
And finally, we have to talk about Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. It looks like such a fun show. Like I said, I am like really in my basketball era. I've been watching Olympics basketball. I'm just really excited to get into the show. I have to admit, I haven't seen it, but I've been wanting to. And the costumes look fantastic. And it just like feels very nostalgic, and also is about a time in Lakers history that is very important to the team that is around today. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, I'm not a sports person. Generally, nor am I inclined to watch sports TV shows. Mm-hmm. However, I did watch a wrestling show not that long ago, and I enjoyed it. So I think I might give this a chance. It looks fun. So I feel like I should give it a chance.
I feel like I've been all about sports shows lately. I just watched like the Michael Jordan one. There's one about like the Olympics team. New American Crime Stories coming out soon about Aaron Hernandez.
Oh yeah.
There's maybe sports genre is like something I'm getting into. So
maybe
I'm excited for this one. Moving on to our next category, Elizabeth, we have outstanding period costumes for a limited or anthology series or movie. And this is the category that we were kind of afraid to talk about because neither I nor Elizabeth have seen any of the 5 shows, but I am quite familiar with them, having spent a lot of time with these designers at this point. We have Feud Capote versus the Swans by Lou Eyrich and Lee Katz-Nelson. We have Griselda by Safa Bright Bitzelberger, Lessons in Chemistry by Miriam Gordon Crozier, Mary and George by Annie Simons, and Ripley by Maurizio Milanotti and Gianni Casanovo.
This is one of those categories where I've wanted, except for Ripley, which I didn't even know existed till my father was watching it. I've like intended to watch all of these shows. As is Lessons in Chemistry.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot wait to watch that show.
Yeah, those are very Elizabeth coded shows. I've actually been wanting to see Ripley very badly. I got to work with Netflix quite a bit earlier this year. And Ripley was one of the shows that was showcased a lot at these Netflix events. And I am a sucker for anything black and white. I just think filming in black and white is so cool to me. I love watching a translation of color, and Ripley seems to have really got it down to a exact science. So I'm still very interested to see this show. I also am pretty familiar with Griselda. I haven't actually, I actually haven't seen an episode or 2 of Griselda, and it's such a interesting show. I love a good true crime type series. That's
it's true crime.
It's loosely based on a real person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you might get into it.
Yeah. No, that's one I've seen and was like, oh, I should watch that.
The transformation of Sofia Vergara is like shocking.
I love Sofia Vergara, so I was like, I gotta watch this because it's such a different role for her. I'm like, ooh, excited for her to get into her like gritty drama era.
Yeah, it looks fun. I mean, there's lots of like sequins because it's also, I believe, set in Miami.
In the 80s, right?
Yeah, so it has like a very like kind of like 80s Miami vibe, which I'm all about. I'm still trying to figure out a way to convince Elizabeth to do Scarface on a podcast. But that's neither here nor there. I think, Elizabeth, that the one to watch out for is Feud Capote versus the Swans.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, I mean, Lou Eyrich is just someone that I've looked up to the majority of my career while being an adult.
I agree. I absolutely agree. If I had to like blindly choose like the top two contenders for this, it would be Marion George and Feud. I wasn't really interested in seeing this, and then I saw like a kind of like extended preview at some point. I don't remember where or not. I saw the costumes and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is gorgeous.
It's incredible.
Like, I wasn't interested in whatever the story is because I have no idea what.
Oh, it's a very fascinating story that I've been dying to see this show. It's right up my alley, actually.
Oh yeah. I am surprised you didn't see it. I thought we would come like to this category and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's the one I saw.
I know. I meant to see it, but I don't know why. I just totally. I always talk a big game about how I want these shows to come out with an episode every week, and not all at once. And then, which is great. That's what I want. But then sometimes you lose track. I bit off more than I could chew. It just came out and I missed the first episode and now I miss the second episode and then I just feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But I guess it's the same thing as binging a whole series. But Lou Eyrich, she is incredible. She is also doing 3 Ryan Murphy shows at a time. Sometimes
oh my gosh.
She's a producer.
That sounds intense.
She is. She'll be simultaneously doing American Horror Story. She'll be doing Feud. She'll be doing another show. Ryan Murphy has 3-4 shows going all at once all the time.
I don't know how that man does.
He's a machine.
Everything.
And Lou Eyrich is right there next to him. And it was also really cool to see Leah Katz-Nelson on the nomination as well. So yeah, I know I'm gonna love the show when I finally get into it, which will probably be very soon.
Spencer, I don't know about you. I know I said I always look forward to period drama, but I kind of think this next category was my favorite this year.
Yep.
Our next category is outstanding fantasy sci-fi costumes.
Yeah, this is, I think this one's my favorite. It kind of always is. It's always the one where I've seen the most too, so it must be. Yeah.
This and period are kind of equal for me, but this year I've seen 3 of the 5 nominees.
Nice. Well, let's get into it. So this year's nominees for outstanding fantasy sci-fi costumes, we have Ahsoka, designed by our dear friend Shauna Terpsick. We have Echo, designed by Amber Riley and Stacey Caballero. Fallout, designed by Amy Westcott. Loki, designed by our friend Christine Wada.
Yeah.
And last but definitely not least, What We Do in the Shadows by the one, the only, the Mistress of Darkness, vampire costume designer Laura Montgomery.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a powerhouse of a lineup here.
Oh yeah. I'll be honest, I really any of these could win and I would not be surprised.
Yeah, it's almost like I can't even comment on it. It's just such a strong category. Let's go through them. What We Do in the Shadows. Have you seen the Pride episode of What We Do in the Shadows as featured?
Of course I have.
It's so good. It's so stupid and so
funny.
Good.
It's so and just what she comes up with, I feel continually redefines these characters while still having just the most perfect through line for each of them, they always come back to is fascinating.
It is so funny. I think Nandor is just hilarious through the episode. I just love how the clothes fit, which is it's kind of crazy on the vampires seeing them in like something that's not like their regular vampiric robes. It's a perfect episode, and I know Laura personally was very excited about this episode too, because I mean it's
rightfully so.
It's a pride festival that takes place at night with vampires because they're vampires and they can't do a daytime.
No.
It's so stupid, and I love it. Oh man. But then we have Loki, designed by Christine Wada, which we just had Christine Wada on a podcast, so you all know how we feel about this one already.
Yeah. I love it. I love just like her perfect redesign of Loki for that final scene.
Oh yeah.
And just her talking about the big suit they made to like go into the time stream.
So they don't get spaghettified.
Is so brilliant. Daniel, why don't you play that clip?
And there are these consensual rings inside of the legs and the sleeves to keep everything expanded and cylindrical in it. Because, really, when you move an arm or a leg, things want to collapse in when they're that size.
Seems like an impossible challenge, but you all pulled it off.
It's so funny because so many people have asked me if it was all CGI in the show.
What?
And it was actually almost all practical. And that was the aim of the show, first and second season, is to try to, as we said, analog, to try to do as much in camera as possible. So there's actually the aged suit. We did an aged one. That's real aging in the show, and it's predominantly the suit itself, and the fabric. The reason it has kind of that density to it, I found these great 1950s scuba suits where they do this quilting. They did this quilting of foam, and that quilting of foam expands when you put yourself in it, and so these are all on little 8x12 looms. It's quilted in this channel quilting, but it gives it that nice texture and weight underneath the latex canvas.
That's so much detail.
Amazing.
So much detail.
I can't believe it came together.
Either. And we didn't have a ton of time, so we were really like, oh my God. Yeah.
How many do you think there were?
And we only could make 4. Well, 5. Really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The time.
Because they kept turning into spaghetti, I'm guessing. So.
Yep. So there was a hero one that was not spaghettified, and then there was a spaghetti semi on its way to being spaghetti suit.
It's such a fun show, and I just think Christine Wada is the coolest too. Like this is such a cool category full of cool, talented people. And then Fallout. I mean, know, I could go on and on about Fallout. The power armor is just insane to me. The fact that's even real still doesn't. My brain cells can't really comprehend that the power armor is not like CGI or whatever, and that they actually walk around in those. Those are insane. And just, I'm a big fan of the Vault Tech suits because in the video games they're like these very, very flat kind of form-fitting, like. They don't really fit in a video game, So then it's like, how do you take something that's so wacky in this video game and translate it in real life? That's something that's actually quite, I don't know. It was kind of stylish too in the way that they did it with the different lines and textures.
Oh yeah, it was stylish and stylized. Like she definitely just like pulled that 1950s influence and like just played with it in such a like fun and interesting way that it made it grounded but still had such a sense of fantasy about it. It was really, she did such a good job and just like made the costumes very interesting to look at.
Yeah. Elizabeth, our next show is Echo, designed by Amber Riley and Stacey Caballero. I actually have not seen this show, but
Same.
I'm such a big fan of this character in the MCU, Maya Lopez, played by Aliqua Cox. A fascinating character. I'm very excited to get into this one. I know that in this series you get to see a lot of like indigenous costuming as well, so I'm excited to dive into it. I just haven't, which is crazy because I'm a big Marvel nerd.
Yeah. Same. I love the character of Maya. She's so interesting. And I saw a little tiny bit of it because someone in my house was watching it. And I can't wait to go back and watch all of it.
Yeah, because we left her in the Hawkeye show, which we have an episode about if y'all really want to dig deep into the library of the Art of Costume podcast episodes.
Ooh, that was a minute ago.
Yeah, I don't even remember what season that is, honestly. I want to say 1.
No. Like 2, maybe 3.
Season 2, because it followed our Twilight episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You remember better than I do.
Yeah, it's all right. But yes, Echo looks like such an incredible show. Very glad it's nominated. And then, of course, we have none other than Ahsoka, designed by Shauna Terpsick.
Yes.
And assistant costume designer Elisa Alcala, who we just had an episode with Elisa just last week. And I know I don't think you've seen Ahsoka yet.
No, I'm behind on Star Wars universe.
Well, to me, I think this specific series in the Star Wars series is this is my favorite one. Not just because of the story, but I think like the costuming too. Shauna and her team really took it to the next level with this series. There is a incredible scene toward the end where you get to see these very interesting stormtroopers that may or may not be undead. I don't really want to give too much away, but the stormtrooper uniforms are like, years and years old, so they're broken and they're dead. And Shauna and her team got to do like this really interesting like gold. I mean, I can't even describe it. Why don't we just have Elisa talk about it? It is really cool. I have to show it to you.
Each piece has the kintsugi, which is the gold, and they all actually have they got dremeled out, and then we put actual gold leafing into them, and then each of them had to get the red put on them. And we all, including Shauna, we were all there just finishing and or packing these up.
That is wild.
I know. With the Dathomirian red like fabric wrapped around them too. Oh, it's very cool. But anyways,
I can't wait.
Yeah.
That makes me so much more excited to watch this show.
Yeah, it's a great show. And I'm so glad that Shauna was nominated. Of course, as we all know, she passed away last October, which has been very hard. But I'm just so happy that the Academy was still willing to recognize Shauna and her team, because this was really a triumph in terms of costumes and Star Wars series and it's a really incredible show, so I'm really glad that they got that nomination.
Same.
But Elizabeth, let's move on to a category that I know that you have some skin in the game for. This category we're talking about outstanding contemporary costumes for a series. We have Hacks, designed by Kathleen Felix Hager, Only Murders in the Building by Dana Covarrubias, The Bear by Courtney Wheeler, The Crown by Amy Roberts, and The Righteous Gemstones by Christina Flannery. This is a thick category.
Yes. Literally the only show I have not watched is Hacks. I have watched,
which is crazy.
It's so crazy. And like that's not like I tend to watch contemporary shows the least. So when I saw that I had seen every show except Hacks, I was like, whoa, what have I been watching?
Yeah.
But I feel like this category for contemporary costumes, so many of them, it was like the costumes were fun. They weren't just contemporary. They were designed to be fun, like Righteous Gemstones and Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah.
Like, these are fun shows. Yes, they're set now. It's a contemporary setting, but those designers are not afraid to have fun with the fashion of now.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, actually. I feel like each of these shows really Yeah, we're like, yeah, they stay true to what contemporary fashion or costumes are for their series, for whatever it is that the subject matter is. But they also, I feel like what makes good contemporary is also that willingness to be off. You know, sometimes, like, for example, in Hacks, I have a picture for Elizabeth in the first episode. Deborah Vance, she takes her stylist to her closet, which is in an airport hangar. That's how big it is.
Oh my gosh.
And she's trying to find the most perfect dress for this event or something. I don't really remember. Something big that she was obviously looking forward to. And she's like, I know the perfect dress, and pulls out this yellow Bill Blass dress. And it's hideous. Like, everyone on her team, though, tells her how amazing it is. And it's not until that the other character, Ava, sees this dress in Deborah's hotel room, and she says it's fugly ass and reminds her of Big Bird. And like, this ugly dress is what like leads these two characters to like kind of reconnect.
Yeah.
So like, it's moments like these where the costumes really get to tell a story.
Yeah.
I have a clip that has not even been released yet from a podcast with Kathleen, if we want to hear her talk about this dress.
Let's hear it.
So we have to talk about the hilarious yellow Bill Blass dress that sort of brings Deborah and Ava back together. I believe Ava described it as, and I quote, fugly ass, and that is giving Big Bird. I was laughing my ass off when I saw this scene.
Yeah.
How did you settle on this look? And is it actually a Bill Blass dress? It's so fun.
It is a Bill Blass dress. It's quite more embellished than the original Bill's original design. It did have the horsehair on it, but we added it on the skirt. I found it on the Real. It was just the script initially said Deborah wears an ugly dress. I mean, I think the original title of the episode was called The Ugly Dress, but I think they changed it. It's always fun for me when a costume drives the story like this. I mean, and also sort of terrifying because it had to be right. It had to make sense for the comedy of the show. It had to be ugly enough that people were going to lie to her about it, but also at some point in Deborah Vance's history, you would have believed that maybe she would have thought it was chic. So it had to accomplish a lot of things for the story. And I found it on the Real, and it was the first dress that I tried on her, and she loved it. I loved it. The producers loved it. It made us all laugh. It actually fit her so well. It was very flattering. So that part helped the story, that you would believe that Deborah would have thought it was chic at one point. It's from the 1986 Bill Blass collection, if you're wondering. So
I am wondering.
There's a hot pink version that we also own. So
ooh, that would be fun to see. It's so
I had a
funny.
little. I know. I had a little pitch that maybe DJ and Deborah did a photo shoot in the pink and yellow versions of the dress, but that never happened. So.
Oh man, I wish that still would, just for me at least.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. It's so funny. I love how storytelling costumes can really help tell a story. But then, Elizabeth, our next show after Hacks is, of course, Only Murders in the Building by Dana Covarrubias.
Shows within shows within shows.
I feel like this is your pick.
Honestly, absolutely. Only Murders in the Building might be the most charming show on television right now. That's just what I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of that is the costumes. We just had Dana Covarrubias. You just interviewed her, and it was incredible. Everyone go back and listen to that episode. She's clearly just having so much fun and just really enjoying the just wacky storylines and giving so much life to these characters through the costume. And then having to like also design for like a Broadway show on top.
A show within a show is crazy.
Yeah, a show within a show is nuts. Still want to know more about the crab people, but you know.
That's neither here nor there.
No.
I mean, I love Only Murders in the Building, and Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. I love that each season she has a different theme. This one was very, very fun, and I just can't wait for season 4. We're gonna have to get together with Dana again after season 4.
Yes, absolutely.
You'll have to ask her about the crab people.
Of course.
Dana,
yeah.
if you're listening, I know you just had a baby, but just so you know, we're coming back with the crab people questions.
Yes.
Then we have The Bear, designed by Courtney Wheeler. I just started watching The Bear. I'm on season 2, and
cool.
I get the hype. It's such a good show. I really love it.
It's such a good show, and I love that it was nominated because every part of this show is so much care is taken, and it's a show where for the most part the costumes kind of blend in, but when they shine, and they're so suited to every character. Like the way she designs these costumes is just so beautiful in its subtlety. I'm so happy she was nominated.
Yeah, I've yet to meet Courtney, but I've heard such incredible things, and obviously her work speaks for itself because it is really great work, and I'm excited to keep watching this show. I'm almost there. I'm on season 2. I know season 3 is out. I'm going to be caught up as soon as Emmy season, I catch up with the 100 other shows that we're watching right now.
And oh my gosh, she has like such an eye for fit. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, totally. Then we have a interesting newcomer to this category that we talked about. The Crown, designed by Amy Roberts, is here, which has typically been known to be dominating the period categories. So The Crown's here for a little bit of, I guess, payback in another category.
I guess like I was shocked to see it in the contemporary category because I feel like I'm like, yes, technically it is a contemporary show for the last season. But it felt period to me still, because it's still like the late aughts to the early 2010s. Like that feels like such a specific time and place to me. Like that feels like its own like time period. So I thought I was a little shocked to see it in the contemporary category, but entirely understand. They did a beautiful job.
It's an Emmys rule. Once a show hits like a certain date or whatever, then it's considered contemporary or period. It's just funny to me, though, that The Crown is contemporary, but that Los Angeles Lakers show that we were talking about in the period category is period because it takes place in the 80s, and that one looks contemporary. So it's like, well, I mean, contemporary to a point. I mean, it's just like something that looks familiar. But I mean, you know how we feel about The Crown. I love The Crown.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've had Amy Roberts on a podcast actually last year, and her team are incredible. Like this is why she's nominated like basically every year, because their show does not miss when it comes to costumes.
No, not a single time.
No. And then we have to wrap up with a show I am dying to see here. The Righteous Gemstones, designed by our friend Christina Flannery.
So well deserved.
I wish you were there when I saw that this was nominated. I screamed so loud.
I bet you did.
Everyone in Pasadena must have heard. Because it's just like, I feel like The Righteous Gemstones, it's such a perfect show, but it's not watched by enough people. Like it's not really marketed at the level that like Hacks is, so to say. This just gives me hope. I feel like more people are watching The Righteous Gemstones, and they're getting familiar now with these characters, getting familiar with Christina Flannery and her incredible work in season 3, currently working on season 4, getting familiar with Sarah Tross, who did costumes for seasons 1 and 2. There's just so much good stuff in Righteous Gemstones, and I'm so glad it's finally being recognized.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And just that's another one of those shows where I'm like, oh my gosh, they're having so much fun.
They're having so much fun. It's contemporary. There's some real fashion moments. And then there's some moments where you'll see, Walton Goggins in a clamshell jumpsuit inspired by Liberace by a pool.
Yeah. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. It is fun. If you're not watching Righteous Gemstones, go watch that.
I can't wait for season 4. It's probably not even close to coming out. It's probably a 2025 or 26, but still, I'm like, please,
Yeah.
I need it.
And Spencer, we have our final category: outstanding contemporary costumes for a limited or anthology series or movie.
Yeah, this is another good one. I don't know which way this one's gonna go, but we have American Horror Story Delicate by Jacqueline Demetrio. We have Baby Reindeer by Mikkel Bailey, Fargo by Carol Case, The Regime by Consolata Boyle, and True Detective Night Country, designed by our friend Alex Bovard. Most of you probably don't know, because you wouldn't. We actually had to take a break halfway through this recording so I could go talk to Alex Bovard about True Detective Night Country. So we had to take a little bit of a pause.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of these shows? Oh, I got you to start watching Baby Reindeer.
Yeah. I watched most of Baby Reindeer. I had to take a little break because I was scarred. That's an intense show. Yeah.
It's funny once you like texted me after episode 4 and you're like, I need to go lay down. I realized in that moment, I'm like, I remembered who I was talking to when I told you to turn to show. And I was like, oh yeah, that probably was a bit heavy for Elizabeth.
Yeah, that was definitely a lot. Excellent. Oh my gosh. It is so good. Costumes also excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Also another one where you can tell they were having fun. Like,
yeah,
it's interesting.
It's very interesting, and I can't believe that the show, like the actor playing the main character, whose name is escaping me, like that. This is his story, and that just really blows my mind. And I also am happy to say that next week we're going to be having a bonus episode with Mikkel Bailey talking about Baby Reindeer. So I think maybe we should give a little sneak peek. So what do you want to hear, Elizabeth? Do you want to hear about Donnie's suit, or do you want to hear about Martha's mixed matched clothing as your sneak peek?
Oh, let's hear about Donnie's suit.
All right.
Initially, in actually the pilot episode, it was a suit that was referenced with loads of pockets. So that was the first kind of sketch. So it was loads of pockets. And then me looking at the pockets, how are we going to design these pockets? Was it be print on print? Would it be these pockets are see-through? Because, we can see through into himself. So all of this. And then we progressed and evolved into, no, it's going to be like tartan and plaid. Then in that, it was then playing around with the different materials and the fabrics. So me going to loads of fabric shops all around London and us playing around with the swatches. So we'd play dress up with Richard one day in the studio. This one tartan here, and he had one around his waist, and we was just taking non-stop pictures and trying to work out what was the right, how does it work, against his skin, also to tell the story. It's also a comedy suit, but it's also him, he takes himself serious here. There's also an element of, do we go big shoulders? Do we go small? Are we fitted? Is it straight? There's all of those elements with that suit. And then when we finally found the right fabric, called up the fabric store. Yeah, can we get this amount of meters? Oh, it's sold out. So we had to do it all again, but we kind of already whittled it down to our top ones. So then we just, So that was a little behind the scenes, what happened there. But then it worked out for even better. So then with that, it was the tie. So finding the right tie to then work with the suit. And then also the colored shirts underneath. And each of the different colors also represents a different place where he is at within himself.
Oh, it was so good talking to Mikkel, Elizabeth. He's such a cool guy. You would love him.
I love that. I should have gone on that interview with you. I was available. The one time I'm available, and I'm like, oh yeah, go do the interview. Should have been there.
I mean, I didn't know. I watched it all literally the night. I watched entire. You took a break after episode 4. I watched all 8 episodes in one sitting.
I don't know how you did that, and
then woke up the next morning.
About it. Yeah.
And interviewed him first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
It was wild. I was not okay, honestly.
That's a lot to take in at one time.
Yeah. But some other shows, American Horror Story Delicate. You know, I'm a big fan of American Horror Story and the costumes. Honestly, I feel like the costumes are consistently the best part of American Horror Story through all the seasons.
I'll be honest. I've been out of the American Horror Story universe for a while. But when I heard Kim Kardashian was going to be in it, I was kind of like, okay, maybe I'll watch that. And then I forgot about it. I've been busy, whatever. Then when I got the nomination, I'm like, okay, here we go. Officially on the list.
Yeah. Getting back into it. I love American Horror Story. I did watch parts of this one, and it's good. I mean, Kim Kardashian actually holds her own as an actress.
Are they trying to bring the devil into the world again?
I honestly couldn't tell you what was happening, which has been my qualms with American Horror Story recently. But as always, the costumes did kill.
Just the one you have here. I'm like, ooh, yes, Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, it's such a strong one. I've always loved American Horror Story. It just takes me back to when Lou Eyrick did American Horror Story Coven. Those costumes are still ugh. So it's just such a great lineage of AHS costumes.
Absolutely.
Then we have Fargo, designed by Carol Case. I have not got into this one, but we're about to have an interview any day now, actually. So more on Fargo coming soon. But I know that's quite a popular show. I always get confused. I thought the show was a movie. Turns out it was a movie, but there's also a show. So when people tell me they're watching Fargo, I'm like, why is everyone rewatching this movie? But that's just my own stupidity.
No, this is one of those TV shows I really want to get into. And this most recent season, I've seen some pictures and videos, and I'm like, ooh, I might finally need to get into this. It looks really interesting. She does a great job. She's a great job.
Yeah, well, I really want to get into it. And Carol Case, from what I've done my research about as I'm getting ready to interview her, she's such a cool costume designer too. So then we have The Regime, which I've been wanting to get into this one. It just feels like such up mine and yours is alley.
I know. This is another one. I was like, oh, I want to watch that. I'm going to be honest. I thought this was kind of like a fantasy show.
Yeah.
Obviously more contemporary, but still very much fantasy. I'm like, this almost looks like the opposite of an apocalypse show. Yes, it's an alternative future, totally fantasy, whatever. So it completely went off my radar. And then when it got nominated, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Again, it's on the list. It's probably going to be after I finish rewatching House of the Dragon. This is my next show.
Yeah, the HBO shows are killing it this year. Regime looks really cool. I had thought it was a period show, but then I'm like, oh, it's it's a contemporary show that's taking place in a modern day kind of I want to say dictatorship, but I haven't seen it, so I don't want to throw that word around.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the vibe I get, kind of a Fidel Castro type contemporary. But, I haven't seen it, so maybe I don't want to throw that word around.
Yeah. We'll watch it first.
Kate Winslet's probably what? Kate Winslet, if you're watching, we will watch it very soon.
Yes. Yeah. And then if you want to come talk about it, let us know.
Oh, yeah. Doors open, Miss Winslet. Then we have True Detective Night Country. And Elizabeth, I have 2 episodes that I'm getting ready to finish after you and I stopped talking. And this show's really cool. At first, I was a little on the fence. And this mystery is so sick. It's
really?
It's a sick little true crime series that you can't help but I want to know what happens.
Is the whole thing taking place at night as well?
Pretty much, which adds like a level of horror to it because it's taking place in Alaska during their days of night.
That's wild. And like, good job, Alex Bovaird, because like I cannot imagine like having to think about like making sure people can see your costumes the entire time.
Yeah.
Like if your characters are in the dark half the time, like how do you make that pop? How do you like define them? That's so interesting.
It was quite a challenge. That's what Alex and I just talked about right before I got back on a call with you. But she, like lighting really was like its own character in this show because so much of the show they're walking around with flashlights or you have like the headlamp. So you only see like glimpses of the costume. So that's something you have to watch out for. But also, just to put in perspective, Alex Bovaird did the costumes for The White Lotus and Nope. And then also the second White Lotus in Italy. So she's doing very hot, deserty, tropical vacations. And then she had to go to Iceland, and her crew had to film in these like days of night in Iceland for the show. Can you imagine?
I would be struggling so much. I would constantly be texting you like, Spencer, I cannot do this.
I can't do this. And it's a lot of it's like too like police uniform costumes. So you're like, really?
Those are dark to begin with.
Yeah. So she did such an incredible job. I am so proud of her. But you will know that her and her crew did survive the days of night because when we were on a call, she was in Thailand finishing The White Lotus season 3. So she made it out okay. And
she got a tropical vacation out of it.
Yeah. She made it to the other side. Elizabeth, and that brings us to the end of our Emmys walkthrough. What do you think? It's such a good year.
I'm so excited for all the nominees, and like I have who I hope wins each category, but I don't think I'll be disappointed no matter who wins.
Mm-mm.
And I kind of feel like that's a little rare. There's usually one or two where I'm like, why were these nominated? But this year I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
It's a bangers only kind of year at the Emmys, honestly. It's just so many good designers, so many great shows, so many incredible crews. So happy for all of you. And Elizabeth, I'm happy we got to do this. It was lots of good fun.
Yeah.
Glad we could talk before you whisk away on your birthday vacation.
I'm gonna go relax in New Orleans.
Well, in the meantime, feel free to leave a voicemail at 626-515-1826 or email us at theartofcostume@gmail.com. Let us know what shows you're excited to see be nominated at the Emmys this year. Or tell us your snubs too. I like a little bit of drama too. That's okay. We'll talk about those too. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/@theartofcostume, Instagram @theartofcostumepod, TikTok @theartofcostume. If you need some clothes for the rest of the summer, or if you're preparing for the long days of night in the winters of Iceland or Alaska, we got you covered. Head to theartofcostume.com/podstore. And as always, please leave us a 5-star text review on Apple Podcasts or rate us on Spotify because it really does help and bring a smile to Elizabeth's perfect face, which is what anyone could ever want.
Thank you, Spencer. You have a pretty perfect face as well.
Oh, thank you. Speaking of faces, what are we actually watching next week for real?
Next week, everyone, we are finally going to...
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now, we will be watching Funny Face. I'm very excited for this episode.
Yeah, for real this time. We are very excited.
Yeah. Sorry, life got in the way, and we really want this. We want this to be a really good episode. So we're gonna give ourselves the time to get it to be great.
We gotta make Edith Head proud. Okay, we're not gonna half-ass that Edith Head episode. So we are taking a little extra time. But we also have some bonus episodes coming up as we talked about too. So thank you all so much for listening. Elizabeth, happy birthday. And I can't wait to talk to you soon.
I cannot wait to talk to you either. Everybody have a fabulous week.
The Art of Costume podcast is hosted and produced by Elizabeth Joy Glass and Spencer Williams. Our audio engineering and editing is done by Dan White. Follow us on TikTok at The Art of Costume and Instagram at The Art of Costume Pod. If you want to support the show, go to theartofcostume.com/podstore. For more podcast updates, costume reviews, deep dives, and interviews, go to theartofcostume.com, a blog dedicated to highlighting the best in costume design.